Before y'all get your Twitter fingers a little too active in the comment section, no, Urza Saga does not count as an enchantment land, you damn nerds. For my purposes, that thing, it grabs artifacts, it plays in artifact decks, and it is only in an enchantment for, I don't know, for the sake of removal, honestly, and lore, I guess. We really did get our first true enchantment land, and I think this really matters because a lot of folks don't understand that for constructed purposes, especially, like affinity and artifact lands have just been one of the most powerful designs like ever in Magic's history. They're a reason why the untapped kind of monocolored affinity lands are banned in Modern, and I mean they're playable in Legacy and Vintage. It's just there are kind of better ways to have artifact synergies kind of work there. But regardless, having an enchantment land has been something that I think a lot of players have been asking for in terms of design space for a very long time. Enchantress has been a very interesting angle, not only in Commander, but in Constructed, it's been relatively low power. I mean, does this really mean that we're now going to get affinity for enchantments? And we know that affinity isn't just locked to artifacts. You can have an affinity for other things, which is what we're going to discuss in this video. I wanted to really go over a couple of the Duskmourn spoilers from this past weekend that really caught my eye. And I mean, like, a couple of them are going to be spoiled as of the kind of posting of this video, and I'm hoping to maybe address those kind of later in the week as well. But over this past weekend, we got some crazy cards. So let me know what you think in the comment section down below. If I miss a card or an element of a card that I'm going to discuss, I'd love to hear your thoughts about it. I mean, this set is just looking to be thematically and mechanically a really powerful set, and honestly, I couldn't be more excited. Valgavoth's Lair is an enchantment land, not legendary by the way, that has hexproof, and it says when it enters tapped, it enters tapped, and as it enters you choose a color. So that's notably not an ETB. It does not create an instance for you to like react to it, should that matter, and then you choose one mana of that chosen color. So it's going to be kind of locked into that. If you're able to flicker this, and that's going to be great. If you're able to, I mean, it only has hexproof, it doesn't have shroud, so you're going to be able to target it in that aspect. But this is a lot. I mean, again, you can play multiple copies of this. It is a tap land, and I think bringing this in as a rare is, I mean, just as a base level, just having hexproof is probably correct. And I think it's going to have a lot of synergies there. So for those of you that are maybe relatively newer, this is not casting a spell. Playing a land is not casting it, so you're not going to get like Enchantress triggers where if in enchantment, like if you cast an enchantment, you know, you draw a card. But if you had an effect that said if an enchantment enters the battlefield, that's a whole different story, because yes, then this would count for that trigger. Specifically, a lot of people kind of bringing up that, yeah, this kind of is just Uncharted Haven, originally from Kamigawa New Dynasty. Enters tapped, as it enters, choose a color. Like, corporate wants you to find the difference between these two cards. I mean, obviously, hexproof, all that stuff, fair enough, and also being an enchantment type is relevant. Maybe not so much right now, but maybe more so in the future. But Uncharted Haven, a common, this being an enchantment land and rare. Also, the fact that it's a Lair and it doesn't have the Lair subtype, it just kind of feels like a flavor fail. Like maybe, like they talk about it a lot where in standard legal sets, they're kind of hesitant to bring in like one of cards that like don't have any synergy otherwise. Like, why would this card be a Lair? It would make more sense if it was like maybe standard legal. Maybe they future errata it to be a Lair, but for the sake of the standard set, definitely not a Lair. So bit of weird, you know, come on. Thematically, come on folks. But you know, we have affinity for other effects, as I was mentioning. So we have affinity for artifacts. This is the most common type of affinity that we are aware of, and is one that has and it continues to prove itself in constructed formats. Affinity for artifacts is one, but to set the precedence for enchantments, I mean, we have affinity for foods that has recently come out of the Middle Earth sets. We have affinity for historic permanents, which has come out of the Doctor Who sets. And so we already know that this is in design, and actually we do have affinity for enchantments, like in a small way. Enchantment spells you cast have affinity for auras specifically. So whenever you cast an aura spell, the target's a modified permanent you control, draw a card. So it's not like Pearl Eye Imperial Advisor isn't exactly affinity or granting affinity for enchantments, affinity for auras. But this could also mean that, you know, and this specifically only puts it on enchantments. Like, it's not going to put it on a creature, a non-enchantment creature or anything. But this opens up a lot of design space. And honestly, this gets me really excited as a constructed player to see where they push this. I am really looking out for any enchantment synergies, anything that allows enchantments to be even better. Like exploring this design space is really cool because it can't just be the artifacts. It can't just be, you know, Commander being taken over by treasures, and artifacts have just really come about a second coming, a second renaissance in terms of design, balance, and all that stuff. And I'm really excited to see them finally really explore enchantments largely. And affinity for enchantments is something, you know, out of Valgavoth's Lair, one of the rare lands out of this cycle. Lord, you know, Lord knows if it's really going to be that playable or anything. This is the kind of other art for it, but I'm really excited to see where they take this design space. Definitely has my constructed eyes really pulled towards this. The next art I want to talk about is Demonic Tutor literally being reprinted in standard. Now this is very relevant because, you know, kind of reading this on both sides. Firstly, search your library for a demon card, reveal it, and put it in your hand. That's Demonic Tutor because you're tutoring for a demon. Demonic Tutor. Okay, we got that out of the way. If you have Delirium, instead just search your library for a card. If you have Delirium, it's Demonic Tutor. If you don't have Delirium, it's Demonic Tutor. So it's Demonic Tutor in all aspects. It's just Demonic Tutor. Come on, y'all know what I'm saying here. So, I mean, Demonic Tutor just being one of those classic cards, banned in Historic, Brawl, banned in Legacy, not legal in Modern, restricted in Vintage and in Timeless. I mean, one of the most powerful cards in Magic's history, potentially being reprinted into standard, into legal formats. And I think a lot of people have brought up comparisons to something like Diabolic Intent, where, I mean, equally as a sorcery, as additional cost to cast a spell, you have to sacrifice a creature, you search your library for a card, and then put that card into your hand. I think the big difference here is that, specifically with Demonic Counsel, it's a lot harder to have a creature out than it is to fill up your graveyard. And I say that specifically with combo decks. I mean, let's just think about something like the Ruby Storm deck in Modern right now. You have some rituals that are sorcery, some are instant. So let's say you play one of each. You got an instant or sorcery in your graveyard. Instant and, sorry. And then you fetch, you got a land in there. So, I mean, if you play something like Mishra's Bauble, if you're playing something like, the 1 mana 3/3, I'm forgetting it right now. It's a 1/1, but if you have Delirium, it's a 3/3 with flying. And then when you cast a instant or sorcery, you can kind of surveil. But if you're playing something like that, then you can also get cards into your yard. Like, this actually might be a lot easier than what people are giving it credit for to enable. And it's a lot lower of a cost than it is to have a creature out. And again, specifically for combo decks to tutor for a win condition. Like this right here, like this just feels like another way, like another Beseech. Like Beseech the Mirror, I mean, for its mana cost, like, I mean, it's played in Storm decks, combo decks, and Legacy. It's played in Vintage as well. Like, it has the ability to really get there just as that tutor, and especially just being able to sacrifice something. But Demonic Counsel just being cheaper on mana and kind of easier, I would say, to enable than maybe something like Prestige, because you have to get to that mana cost in order to get there. Sometimes you do cheat that out where, like, you're not even paying the cost. But I think Demonic Counsel, like, a lot of people are really not giving this card the credit it deserves in terms of just being a hard tutor. I mean, the Ruby Storm deck is just playing Wish, where Wish doesn't even tutor a card. Like, it makes you cast a card on the spot out of your sideboard. This could be like, does Ruby Storm potentially become like half a black deck? No, because it's Ruby Storm. Get that out of your head. It is a red deck. You're using kind of Ruby Medallion to get there. But does that mean that Storm could potentially make a bit of a comeback having a hard tutor, or some type of other combo shell having a hard tutor with something like Demonic Counsel? I think in Legacy and Vintage, this card is definitely going to be playable. In terms of constructed formats in Pioneer, in Modern, I think, like, I'm not much of a combo. I'm a combo player in Pauper, but a combo enthusiast in other formats, I just don't have like the proper knowledge for it. But I think just the templating is there. Like, Delirium is a lot easier to enable than something like sacrificing a creature. I think just in general, in unfair formats. So definitely want to put that out there in front of everyone just to really think about what this means. Mishra's Bauble stonks, just skyrocketing. But in terms of touching base on some other cards here, Kuro kind of talking about on Twitter, I saw this kind of sink through here, but apparently people are concerned that Norrin is turned black. Like, Norrin was always black. right? I think there was like a single card somewhere in this thread. Yeah, in Pyrophobia, they're saying like, oh, Norrin's like kind of white here. And I'm like, I mean, I guess if we're calling this Norrin, a bit of a weird choice there, especially considering this is like a recent Modern Horizons set. But I mean, Norrin's black here, OG Norrin's black. I don't know why we got to bring up racism in this, but like, Norrin's black, get over it. Like, I think new Norrin is kind of interesting, like kind of the whole like blocking thing. It's not something that I'm really interested in. OG Norrin in terms of like combos and everything. Fantastic card. Fantastic card. Comeback Wrong is something that wasn't recently spoiled, but I want to bring this up because I saw it on a Twitter thread or a tweet that this actually gets around, like for commander players, this gets around the whole like commander changing zones thing, where when a commander changes zones, goes to deck, goes to graveyard, exile, whatever, you can choose to put it back in your command zone. But Comeback Wrong, the way this is templated means that you destroy a creature, and if that creature is the commander, you just gain control of it. So this is just a steal effect in black, and your opponent can't do anything about it. It doesn't change zones. If it was to be put into a graveyard this way, return it to the battlefield under your control. So it doesn't even, like, if it was, it doesn't go there. You just get it. You just take it. So I think this is gonna make a lot of casuals mad. It's gonna make a lot of casuals mad. Get good though. Come on, it's your fault. Play the interaction. Speaking of interaction though, Unwanted Remake has some people thinking here, 1 white, destroy target creature. Ignore the rest of it. Ignore the rest of it. Destroy target creature. That is it. 1 white, destroy target creature at instant speed. Okay. Its controller manifests Dread. That player looks at the top 2 cards of their library, then puts 1 into the battlefield face down as a 2/2 creature, and the other into their graveyard. If it's a creature card that's face down, you can turn it face up for its mana cost. Okay, so significantly worse. Let's say your opponent has a Tarmogoyf. You Unwanted Remake the Tarmogoyf, it's destroyed. First of all, vast difference between destroy and exile. Let's get this out of the way. This card is not better than Path of Swords. It is not better than Path of Swords. Swords, like, busted magic card. Universally busted magic card. If it was legal and modern, it would be played everywhere. Okay, it would single-handedly be the best white removal spell available. There's some arguments to be said about like Solitude and Leyline Binding, but Solitude specifically, you have to build your deck around it. You have to have forms of card advantage. You have to have a critical mass of white spells, and Leyline Binding is really good, specifically in the domain decks. This is nowhere. I would argue this is worse than both of those as well. In the Manifest Dread part, I mean, you destroy Tarmogoyf, and then your opponent gets to look at the top 2 cards, put potentially like another Tarmogoyf or a Ragavan face down, right? They get a creature back, but then they also get to feed their yard, which, like, in a set where we are promoting Delirium, like, is that something you really want to be doing? Do you really want to feed your opponent's Delirium? I don't know. This card at common would be too busted. Honestly, like, this card at common would actually be the single best removal spell in the Pauper format. So good, keep it at uncommon. But no, it's not good. It's not. Unwanted Remake is not good. But anyway, those are the cards I really wanted to touch base on. I think as of the posting of this video, we're going to be getting more spoilers throughout kind of the day. I hopefully will be kind of touching on them throughout the week here, but really thought some exciting things coming out of this weekend. I'm really excited for Duskmourn House of Horrors. This is going to be a really cool set if this is how they're kind of pushing it. The art and kind of some of the design is already kind of has my eyes kind of perked up in terms of just really cool versions of cards, constructed cards. But let me know what you think in the comment section down below. What are you looking forward to, especially today being that long weekend? What are y'all looking forward to out of Duskmourn and our new horror themed Magic set?